and banking, as far as we know that it's quite a dry subject. So how do you, when did you start thinking to write about something so interesting and so intriguing and so captivating, which resulted in Melody of a Tear?
Well, actually, writing is a process that doesn't necessarily happen when you're writing. It happens in your mind. It happens even in your childhood without you knowing it. So there are stories that you are actually accumulating over time, and this story is also a story which has its roots in my childhood. So it's some experience that has built through this novel. So banking is a contradiction. Banking is something that I have to do for my monetary living and monetary needs. But my heart and soul is in writing. I have a pedigree of writers in my family. And I think part of it is the DNA. And part of it is the love for the books that was inculcated throughout my childhood by my parent, especially father.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to let you guys know that Haroon, Khalid belongs to a very intellectual family, a very literary family. His father, Mr. Khalid Akhtar, was a renowned writer and Adamji Award winner. In those previous days of yours, the Adamji Award was one of the very distinguished, one of the very high-ranking literature award. Jamiluddin Ali and very many other authors had also won that. His name was Khalid Akhtar, and Haroon's father's one of the most famous fiction novel was Chakiwada Mein Visal. Chakiwada is a place in Karachi, in the suburb of Karachi. So that definitely, this goes without saying that this is something which runs in the blood. A scion of a very intellectual family, Haroon. Haroon, my second thing, the second question which crossed my mind was the fact that you have been raised in a family where the Urdu literature was quite in vogue.
Yeah.
And people they used to talk in Urdu, they used to write in Urdu, enjoy Urdu, everything was Urdu. So why did you choose to write in English? That is the basic thing, because we were having a discussion and you said most of the Pakistani authors, those who are writing in English, they started writing in English by learning and by first reading the Urdu literature. How this transformation began and why?
Yeah, it's not, I think, much of a transformation. To me, writing is actually expressing your feelings and telling a tale which you feel is original. So this decision of actually writing in English and not in Urdu was primarily because I was more comfortable in expressing myself in English. Although rightly said, there was a lot of Urdu in my house, there were a lot of Punjabi in my house as well. But once you begin to take steps in life, you kind of narrow down your choices, you pick your choices in terms of language, and English is a very well entrenched language in Pakistan. And it's, rightly or wrongly, it is also a language of progression in one's career. So that's where I actually gave more focus to English, and that's why I started writing in Dawn, and that was also in English. So my expression naturally, actually expression of feelings, was looking for an avenue, and it ended up, it got out through English, and where I kept on building my prowess, you can say. So nothing against Urdu, by the way.
Yeah, that was a choice, a conscious choice. You felt good in whatever language, and you must express yourself in that language. With your permission, if I may read an excerpt from that book, and you would understand that how powerful, how impactful, how intriguing, and whatnot, how deep that novel is. The one para. Then after my mid-20s, I hit a limbo, which lasted a few years, a period of realization that I was not committed enough to the cause of unfolding myself. My case for dying, perhaps, is still not watertight. At that time, I didn't realize what I lacked was a slip of life itself. In order to die, I needed to live first. what an impactful phrase that, I mean, the choice of words, the thoughts, and the power the impression it creates to the reader is such a that this novel doesn't look like something which is not written by some non-native English or something like that. So Haroon, kudos for that. And we were talking about the fact that as Faz Saab said, I mean, to be able to write something, to be able to think something, three things are quite necessary. And Haroon must have gone through that. One is mutalla, the other thing is mushahida, the third thing is mujahida. So one is you must be a well-read person. Second thing, your observation should be good enough to cover everything. You must observe. And the third thing, you should make efforts. So Haroon, these three things, how would you describe? How would you describe the journey? I mean, comprising these three broad contours, whereby you studied a lot. Which writer did you like most?
Okay, as Rashid said, basically, for writing anything, you must be a good reader. I think that goes without saying. And I'll go a step further to say that every writer, while writing, is also a reader of his own story. So it's not that you actually have thought through everything. Once you're writing, a lot of avenues open for your characters, a lot of avenues open for the storylines. And there are a lot of choices that you haven't thought of before. So it's a great journey as a reader of your own stuff. So yes, writing is very important, and it's also a very hard toil actually. It's not easy to attempt writing something that is worthwhile. You have to be a very, very patient writer, and you have to have that courage to reject yourself over and over again, that I've been doing over the last 9 years. The reason it took 9 years that I have a very tough day job that I have to balance out. I spend so much tough time at office, and then whatever is left are the weekends or just that 1 hour slot in the end. So I have read, but I could have read more. I have written, but I could have written much more. So these are the constraints of job that I have to live with. And someday I hope I'll be able to do what I want wholeheartedly.
But you understood that how to divide time between the office and between writing and giving some time to family. As Parveen Shakir years ago, decades ago said कि इश्क ने सिखा दी है वक्त की तकसीम के अब, इश्क ने सिखा दी है वक्त की तकसीम के अब, वो मुझे याद तो आता है मगर काम के बाद. तो आप भी काम के बाद ही लिखते होंगे फिर?
असल में काम के बाद is probably the worst time that you can write really, because you're all tired, fatigued. So it's very important that what you're writing is written at the best possible time. Ideally, it's morning. I can't really wake early. I can't afford writing. To share something very personal here, that when I started writing this novel, I found that the best ideas are going to come in the morning, and nighttime would probably going to be a waste. So I actually did that dishonesty and started writing a paragraph or two in the morning after coming to office. So I know it was official time, and I knew that my boss was a very, very tough guy who loved everything probably in life but books. So I actually created 2 files, Word files, and I disguised the names as import and export. And I was fearful he might open my PC once I've left, and he must ask if this is office time. So that was also one of the attempts that I started to pick on the best time. My advice to any of the budding writers, a lot of young people sitting here, is to actually take that pain of writing early in the morning when you're all fresh. It's all your ideas are all aligned. And the second advice would be to be very brutally honest with yourself. Don't be a second-hand thinker while writing anything. You have to be a first-hand thinker. Think of the original stuff and think of the stories that are inside. through your personal experience, I have written, I am a collector of all the movements, moving moments, the emotionally very strong moments that have lived in me, and I draw all the strength and all the strength of my writing through those experiences. Sometimes you feel you feel hesitant actually of declaring what those thoughts are, because you haven't declared anything before of the sort, even your family is not aware. But you have to be courageous enough to come forward and write something really brutally honest, and that will give you that originality that you might be looking for.
Ladies and gentlemen, one thing which is very clear, that when I was going through this novel, I was, started reading it. So, as Muhammad Hanif said, that an utterly original voice. Believe you me, this novel is such an original type where there is no, you would feel it while you read it, that there was no external pressure, no externalities interfered in the thought process of the novelist, author, that is Haroon Khalid. We have been seeing the novels, emerging writers writing aftermath of some terrorist attack, addressing the issues of Islamophobia, writing about the migration problem from Pakistan to states in diaspora. But this one work is truly an original thought, plot, and the minute detail regarding which I was talking to Haroon is quite an original thing. Haroon, how long did this novel take to come in this shape?
It's a very long journey. It's a long tale. It started out in a totally different form. It started out when I was actually had a totally different story in mind. Then that process of rejection started. This book has been rejected by me for I think over 100 times, really. Chapters, lines. When I started out, I was under the fascination that, look, I want my book to be successful. So what about if I actually write each and every line which is brilliant? So then my book would be really a winner. So I started that, and I found how difficult that would be. So that was my start. With Office Life, 9 years, self-rejections over and over again. There have been chapters that have been rejected. There's a lot of other chapters and other characters that you'll find in my Google Gmail that I wrote and then actually moved out of the story. The start was different, the narrative was different, the narrator was different. So it was all a learning curve, and it was all a learning. As I said, when I was reading, I was finding different avenues. Initially, I thought of something, then I thought this probably is not fitting well. This might be more exciting for the reader. So this process actually is the self-rejection process here, and I would not have taken 9 years had I probably more time at my disposal, more perhaps a government job.
So, but as you said that, I have not known to any writer whose manuscript was rejected at least twice, thrice, or 4 times. In recent history, we have J.K. Rowling, which was, J.K. was rejected, I think, at least 4 times, 5 times before a publisher agreed to, agreed to publish that Harry Potter. So rejection, I mean, didn't that increase the, momentum? Didn't that build up the momentum? Didn't that force you to write well and write again?
Very true, yes. Rejections, I spoke about self-rejection, but I would also speak about rejections from publishers, from agents. And that is a very, very real thing for any writer, any budding writer. You have to actually take that rejection or rejections very, very positively. The thing is that if they are rejecting you, there are a couple of reasons, because they're flooded with manuscripts. Obviously, there could be unfair rejections as well. But more so, I think it's the lacking in the quality that you have put up to them. Go back to the drawing board, review your whatever you've written, and you will find that probably rejection was fair enough. So it's a process of actually not getting discouraged. Keep on writing what you believe in. For example, I felt that I have a real original tale that has to be uh, shown to the world. So I was that conviction was very, very strong in me, and that conviction kept me going, and that did not really dissuade me or let me lose my focus of whether just set it aside and just do my banking. You have to be strong in that sense.
So you have to be persistent, right? So one thing is very clear. But Haroon, being a work of fiction, when we read this novel, we come across so many characters as we feel like, at least I felt in that way, that Haroon must have seen those characters, or somebody nearest or dearest to Haroon must have lived in those characters, like the character of Zara, the character of Zaid. They were really, a living character with the quality of somebody, around us. So did you have any particular character or something is being reflected through those characters as well?
Well, the advantage that the writer has is that he can create new characters, and he can also alter the real ones and just take them in the book. So there are a lot of characters that prima facie might exist there, but then their lives have been changed, their ambitions have been changed. To quote you a very small example, one of the gentlemen in my bank really presented his resignation, and on the last day he said, I might be able to stay back. And for him, actually, I took a lot of pain. I spoke to HR, went to the president, and they agreed to give him some kind of remuneration immediately. And when I revealed that news to him, and he said, I'm double-minded again, so thank you very much, but I'm leaving. So this character probably came out as an absolute villain in my real life. But when I take him, if I take him in my story going forward anytime, I will actually build his view as well, because writing is a process which makes you empathetic. So he will not be that absolute villain. So there will be his perspective that will creep in that story. So yes, I pick from my real life a lot of characters, but they're not really necessary. They're unrecognizable once they actually get fully bloomed.
So one thing which is which come to fore after reading this novel is, as somebody else also pointed out towards that, a lady, she was running after the tears of someone, and the amount of compassion your characters have, like that revolves, the whole novel revolves around that. You build the facade of novel on different characters, and after all, the result was the one word, if one word can describe this well, is the compassion.
Yeah.
Is that true? This is a right take from your novel?
Absolutely. Because that is what is driving the whole story. So writing a true story is also about reflecting your true self as well. If you feel something very, very strongly about this compassion, you normally feel compassion and you feel a lot of, you have a lot of good thoughts about your family. But I was really fascinated by having similar kind of feeling that you have for family, for somebody you were absolutely you don't know. For example, here the example is the pushcart vendors. So they have been driven out. But here's the guy Zaid who is feeling so strongly about these guys that as if they're their own family. And that disconnection and the compassion really fascinates me. And there's a chapter here, which there's a section in the book, His Truth. It describes my very nascent experience, which actually built that compassion. Well, if I'll have time,
would you like to read some excerpts from your book, Haroon?
Yeah, if you have time.
We have time. Sure. Just give us 2 minutes, and yeah, please.
2 minutes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, just a small passage on poverty. I think poverty is a very noble thing. You have a lot of things in poverty that you probably would not find in the lives that we are more familiar with, the well-to-do lives of a lot of people. So there's a lady, Hindu lady, who is telling Zara, and Zara is asking, do you face religious prejudice from the flat owners Uh, the Hindu lady is washing clothes for the flat owners. Sheila. So, do you face religious prejudice from the flat owners? Her calm, simple reply introduced me to a religion that had never been acknowledged, despite all pervasive. Never BB, good or bad, the treatment is the same as that meted out to a Muslim servant. In their eyes, all poor belong to the same religion. For a few seconds, I stood numb, wondering how poverty pluralized people across creeds, just like any established religion. Perhaps the truest religion of the world has always been poverty, the most ancient, the most widespread, the most enduring, which does not discriminate, made everybody thank God profusely for every meal, and kept them safe from hedonism. My last glance from the gate showed me the Hindu children burning the tips of paper bags in the kerosene-fired oven, sending small poverty-powered space shuttles into the skies. These children were poverty-powered too, free and unconcerned about any future, forging intimate bonds with the elements, turning them into willing playmates. Surely they were not faking life out there. If anything, they were mistaking poverty for wealth.
Class, I mean, such an inclusive novel, such a strong character, such a punchlines. Haroon, we are short of time. I've been asked by yeah, please, go ahead. If you guys have any question, please introduce yourself and please ask the question. Yeah, lady in front. The mic is there, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Beenish and I've read your book. You signed it for me as well. One thing that I wanted to add was that the collection of your short stories was by the name Threadbare and Dawn.
Yeah.
And secondly, you mentioned that the true inspiration came to you for writing this novel was during the morning hours when you were listening to the radio and when you were stuck in traffic. So that was your source of inspiration for writing The Melody of Tear. And then also I wanted to read out a quote. The novel, it opens on the dialogue. In my case, a chic low-neck attire and some loud lipstick is in order to make me appear a complete woman. At last, unconflicted and easy on the eye, truly dressed to kill. So this at once attracts the question that who this woman really is. She's intelligent, she's good-looking, she has a charm, a wit. She's not a dumb blonde. So I think this was an interesting dialogue. And
so your question is who is the women, right? Your question is that who is the women?
Sorry?
Who was the women in this?
Zara.
Okay.
Zara.
No, I thought you were asking the question.
No.
So if you have any question, please ask because I saw some hands raised for that.
Okay, and also I think the Zaid, the protagonist, he's based on your character, right? Because he was also a banker.
No. If you have any question, please ask that question. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, you have a question, sir, please. चले खड़े होके वैसे ही बोल दे यार वालेकुम सलाम
I just wanted to ask that the title of your book is very catchy, like The Power of Tear. How do you connect it at a mystic level to the actual power of tears in our lives, and how does it help towards redemption, not only the redemption of your own self, but also in terms of the hereafter, perhaps, how in Islam as well, because Almighty says that if one tear you manage to shed one tear in my love, then you will be absorbed of any punishment or anything. And
so the
hellfire won't touch you. So just in terms of how with regards to the road to redemption, and also the overarching theme of tears, and how would you? What are your comments?
This piece of fiction has been changed into Maut ke baad ka manzar, right? Something.
No, not exactly. Maybe
No,
I
think tears are very powerful in the sense that they express your truest feelings in a very honest way. They're very natural, and they're also very scientifically cleansing, actually. So you feel lighter. It's a natural thing, really, feeling light, but also not really light. That is the general meaning of how we understand it. But also feeling close to some entity or God or even individuals or community in this case. So tear is sacred, tear is honest, And tears should not be shied away. It actually purifies you.
It reflects emotion as well, right?
Yeah, and I think I'm a firm believer. It cleanses you of lot of negative feelings and a lot of ill traits in your personality.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the title of the novel. Tears are, coming on the feet or something. I mean, what is the philosophy
it's from
behind
one of the scenes, a major scene very close to my heart. It's about Zaid lying down and then this Zara discovering him. And
nowhere Zara can be,
Zara is not there.
Zara is.
But it's about basically Zaid is a grief-sucking engine as Zara sees him. And basically, this novel is a novel of extremities. It's setting standards of sacrifice, friendship, taking it to the next level. If you want to be in love, then this is the level. It's not just normal level.
We have one question. I think one last question with Faryal.
I'm Chand Rizvi from India. And attending your session is one of the reasons I'm here.
Oh, thank you very much.
You talked in detail how you wrote the novel. My question is, who do you write for?
That's a very interesting question. Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Chand Rizvi.
Chand Rizvi. Chand, the thing is that there's an urge really to express something that you have inside, something that is very close to your true self. So that urge comes naturally to you, and when that urge is coming, you're not actually keeping any audience in mind. You want that urge to be out actually and expressed. So I think that is how I actually experience that. Then once you actually start putting something on the paper or on your computer, then a lot of factors open up, like giving it to a bigger market and maybe actually publishing it outside Pakistan where there's a bigger market. But I have never ever diluted my intention to write with any of the things that are happening in the world or anything that I feel would be commercially helpful to my cause or my book. I write what I feel like, so actually I'm writing for myself in that sense.
Exactly. I mean, most of the writers, they write for themselves. Haroon, one very pertinent question. As they say in Arab world, there's a dearth of good readers. So they usually say that, Cairo writes, Beirut publishes, and Baghdad reads. In our case, India writes, and very few people in Karachi or Lahore read. So why did this happen that you had to get this book published from India?
Very simple answer, because there are hardly any publisher who's publishing fiction in Pakistan. And that includes Oxford as well. So there are no English publisher, novel writer. I explored some options, but that's where I can't move forward. And India, by the way, is a bigger market, but that's a secondary thing. First of all, you don't have options in Pakistan.
You have plans to get it published from New York, London, and to something like international market, because this sort of original work, that is quite in dearth. Not very many writers are there from Pakistani descent, those who can write fiction and which is original as well.
Well, this can be also, I think, if somebody buys the rights, it can be spread. But the current work that I'm doing is a fantasy, and for that I have, yes, probably Europe in mind for publishing. But that's in nascent stage.
So आप ख्वाब बेच रहे हैं अभी. Fantasy. जी, last question, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Aisha Mir. My question is that the young lady talked about that beginning para of your novel, and what hit me was it was a very beautiful description of how she wanted to die. But the thing is, I felt that this was a man's perspective as how a woman would think. It was probably not how a woman would really think. Would you disagree with that or what?
Have you read the whole novel?
Yeah, almost.
Okay, then you would have reached that stage where the narrator changes. I won't reveal that plot, but you're partly right. So there's a lot of change in perspectives taking place. Narrators are passing the baton to somebody else. So what you're saying is partly right. So once you reach the end, you'll realize that probably what you're saying is right, and that's what the intention of the writer was as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. As they say, that falling in love is one of the very easiest things in life, but staying in love is one of the hardest thing in life. So once you pick up this book and you start reading it, it would be really hard to leave this without finishing it. So I would recommend you to please go and buy this book and support our indigenous writer, our local writers. And thank you very much for attending this. Thank you, Haroon. for
Thank
being
you
with
very
us.
much, Ji. Thank you very much.